Thank you for listening to Light Up Pichwa. This is a short clip with Dennis from episode 35. Hope you can hear or watch his interview 35 and 36. Let me know what you think. Please do subscribe, rate, share, and review, and let me know. Thank you. Hi, my name is Shwa, and I am the founder and host of Light Up with Shwa. You're going to watch part one with Dennis today, and I hope you enjoy it. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and let me know how did you like it. Thanks.
My full name is Xiaotian Wu. That's my Chinese name, and I go by Dennis.
All right, good.
And currently, I'm a fourth-year PhD student at the Thayer School of Engineering at Dartmouth. It's definitely hard to comment on your own kind of like parenting, but I think speaking generally, I was not born here. I was born in China, and I spent most of my childhood, I would say, at least elementary school, growing up in Singapore. So Singapore is a place that's pretty close to my heart. But then we moved back to China for 2 years, and then my family immigrated to Vancouver, Canada for half a year, and then finally we immigrated to Rhode Island, United States.
Oh, okay.
So we have traveled quite a lot, and so just culturally speaking, the parenting strategies are all very different. And definitely growing up in sort of a Asian, culture, especially in Asian countries, the parenting style tends to be more, strict.
Mm-hmm.
It tends to have, a little bit more discipline, kind of structured into your daily life. Whereas, like coming here, right, there's definitely a stark contrast. But I think having experienced both, just at different stages of my life, I think there are definitely pros and cons, right, for both types of, parenting for sure. And the one that I've kind of experienced has been a mix, because my parents would, when I was growing up in Asian countries, when I was younger, they would kind of follow the parenting styles over there. But once they come here, it's always a learning process for everybody. And so they've kind of took a lot of the, parenting styles here and things like that. So I think it's been a good mix, which is that when I was younger, I think, they were definitely very strict. And, I have been disciplined as that's sort of a norm in, certain Asian countries. But I would say they didn't do it, to a really high level per se. Like in Asian countries, the level of discipline that they gave me, I think would be considered high here, but it could be considered like low there, primarily because, my dad, both my parents work in Singapore too. So they didn't really have a lot of time to spend like at home, but I think that level of discipline when I was younger was necessary for me, because I think when kids are younger, they don't fully understand a lot of the reasoning and the logic per se.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, if you're trying to explain like a certain like principle or a certain idea to a child that, only knows kind of, based on a reward punishment system, right? It's really hard for them to comprehend that. So I do feel like some level of discipline is necessary, because at that age, without the understanding, it's hard, right? But I do think, and this is where the line gets blurry, like when do you step out of that? Because I think once the child is able to comprehend, the logic and the reasoning behind certain, parental advice or, certain actions or suggestions that parents would make to the child, then, they have the capacity to kind of decide and really learn from that instead of just again using kind of the reward punishment system. I feel like even developing, we're trying to develop this, like, you have to think for yourself rationally and make these decisions logically, based on your principles and your culture. I think that is really important. And I feel like coming here, and even when I was in Canada, and even when I was in China, when I got a little bit older, my parents definitely shifted away from kind of that, discipline approach to a more, every time, if I did something wrong and there was, it was a conversation. It wasn't just, you did something bad, you got punished. It was, you did something bad, we're going to talk about it.
Oh.
Why is this bad? Why are we angry at you, and why, all of these things. I think, my mom especially, like, really made an effort to detail, the reasons why certain things happen, which I really appreciated. And then coming here, I think they further kind of, the perspective kind of shifted a little bit more towards listening. I think that was really key. And, I think throughout, obviously, I've argued with my parents, and there's been, like, disagreements and everything. But it's through these disagreements that I think that the positives that come out of it is that there's mutual growth. I grew, I knew what I did wrong or whatever, and I, learned from my mistakes and, took their advice. But at the same time, I think the conversation is very important because they were also able to hear kind of my opinion. Whereas in the more disciplined approach, sometimes, I don't really get to voice my opinion, right? So I think that shift is really key.
So who will listen? Who respects other person, whatever age they are?
Yeah,
I think there is that part. Like, why would I listen to you when I know everything? I know everything. You don't know anything.
Right. So a lot of times I think that is right. Like, parents sometimes do have that mindset that, we obviously, this is fact. We have lived, much longer than you have, right? That's always one of the excuses that comes up. It's like, we have more experience, we know more, we've seen more things, and therefore, we can impart this advice. But my counter argument to that would be that, times are constantly changing, right? The society is changing. So if you, are imparting advice based on your experience of a certain time period, right? Sure, that is completely valid, and I have to listen, right? Like, I have to listen just because, even if I think your ideas might be, a little outdated or something, right? That's my opinion of it.
Exactly.
But, I could be very wrong. But being able to listen to it and then say, okay, but this is what I see, right? In my perspective, in this time frame, with my friends, I've experienced this. And, if I take your advice and let's say I've implemented some of them, this is the results that I see, right? Like, this is kind of it's like a PhD. It's like research. It's like experimentation, right? Let's take some idea, try it. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work, let's improve upon it. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how, like, a lot of the new ideas are generated. And I feel like a lot of times, parents sometimes are very, not, responsive or receptive to that. Mm-hmm. They say, that idea wouldn't work, or, that's like a very naive thinking, or it's overly idealistic, which I actually think is, is a compliment, because I feel like, in order for kind of humanity to move forward, you need both tradition and kind of the new generation innovation, right? And the idealism. Because, if we all always follow tradition, then nothing would ever change. So it's this kind of back and forth, a little bit of tradition, a little bit of, kind of like new ideas, and then we kind of find a happy, medium to move forward.
Need a central point, right?
Right. And but deciding where that point is, that's always the hardest part. Yes. I would say parenting is a PhD, is a postdoc. It is a career.
Yes,
to be a parent.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you think that every person or adult can be a good parent, or should be a parent, good or not good? I don't know.
Yeah. I think everybody can be a parent. Mm-hmm. Can be a good parent. But I think there is a choice to it, right? I think there are certain people who chooses not to be a parent for various reasons, and I think respecting that choice is it's important. Because it's a huge responsibility, right? And, you're bringing life into this world, and you are a big part of their life, right? Influencing their growth and their morals and everything. And so if you don't fully, commit to that, and some people don't want to fully commit to that, right? Because, I feel like in this life, right? I think showing love and is important. You can show love in many different ways, right? To your spouse, to your family, to your the parents, to your neighbors. But it doesn't really have to be your child, right? If you choose to have one or not. And so I think everybody can be, but I really think we should respect that choice if people do decide not to have kids.
So we covered a lot of ground here. You just had a good. Thank you for
thank you for listening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Welcome. I'm learning from you and from the younger generation, and I'm trying to train myself. Wonderful.
Thank you for all of this.
What are the things that money can't buy in your life? Let's say.
Oh, a lot of things.
As a young man, what do you think about that question?
I feel like this is also kind of unconventional. I don't really like money. just throwing it out there.
Okay.
And so, but to answer your question, I think there's a lot of things in life that money can't buy. Money can't buy friendship. Money can't buy love. Money can't buy respect. I think these are all the things that I value in life that money can't buy. And money, to me, is just right now at least, it's kind of a necessity, just to survive and everything. But I really don't think that it helps me on a kind of a deeper level. Mm-hmm. Having enough money to kind of like have a standard of living that you think would be comfortable, or obviously that could contribute to your happiness or anything like that. But I think beyond that, like with your relationships and things like that, money really can't really, doesn't mean anything, Okay.
So what do you value then? If you don't,
Pardon?
What do you value if you don't value money for everything that you think money can buy this or that? It's good to have enough, but so what do you define as a value then? Some people define money as value. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think we live in a pretty like a global society, and we're definitely more interconnected than we were before. And so I think the value comes in these, like maintaining these human relationships, in maintaining that a culture of like respect, mutual respect, mutual understanding, mutual tolerance. I think think in terms of, I don't know, just like very, very humanistic, values, right? Like you value human beings, you value the lives of human beings, and that extends to any kind of interactions you have, right, with a human being, right? Like whether that person is your parent, your friend, coworkers, strangers, teachers. I feel like humanity as a whole, right, like would benefit if everybody had positive relationships. And that's why it's completely irrelevant, no matter what type of background you come from, right? Like cultural differences or wealth, social, all of that. If the key here is to foster these type of positive relationships and mutual respect, then I feel like a lot of those like issues, right, that humans currently face would not exist. So I really think if we were able to kind of value one another, right, value human lives, then I think you can't get higher than that, in my opinion.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you for watching part 1 with Dennis. I hope you stay tuned for the second part with Dennis as well. So enjoy, and please send your feedback to Light Up Vichwa.